Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast Betting Show. It is week 5. Adam is joining me once again to go through all of the odds and all of your betting needs. Adam, we've had a game in the books already. The Bears played the Commanders last night. What a game it was. Justin Fields has managed to have 2 back-to-back good weeks. I'm guessing you caught up on the highlights. I'm guessing it wasn't a game you stayed awake for.
It wasn't. I imagine most of the UK population didn't stay awake for the Bears against the Commanders. They looked decent, didn't they, on offense? He's looked all right now for the last couple of weeks and is looking a bit more like how he did at the back end of last season. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens, see whether anything changes or not amongst the sort of like the coaching and sort of like they've got to just let him do it. I think is probably the way forward now. But yeah, look good and bit disappointed with the Commanders defensively. Definitely was a bit surprised that they gave up as much as they did. But
yeah, stepped up against the Eagles and then fell apart against the Bears.
Yeah,
very bizarre. But we move into the games coming up. Unfortunately, this week we can't get the odds up on the screen due to the fact that the odds didn't get released for the games till about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare. Bet365, Sky Bet, a lot of them, they've all been having it hit certain bits there, certain other games there. Been very bizarre, nightmare to do. So yeah, a bit of a nightmare, and but it doesn't matter because this is how we always used to do it. So yeah. It's fine.
It worked fantastically last year because every week it was a winner. So fingers crossed we go back to that. We have another game in London this week. That is the Buffalo Bills against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You've probably seen a lot of stuff on our social media flying around today. But that is the first game up. What are your thoughts, Adam? Is this going to be a blowout for the Bills, who have looked incredible of recent?
Yeah, they have looked really good. They're 5.5 point favourites in this game with the over under at 48.5. So I think this has the potential to be quite a high scoring game. I think this is definitely, I think of the 3 fixtures in London, this was the one that kind of, for the people who like attacking football, this was kind of what they were looking forward to the most. So yeah, I think this one's the one that could be a really good game. I think that Bills defense is just so strong. They're currently tied 7th against rushing touchdowns, tied 3rd against passing touchdowns. So they're not giving a lot up, and you saw how much they were able to control that Miami offense last week, which is a huge plus point for them. The fact that they can stop an offense like that, really, and not only that, but also have the offense themselves to be able to deal with them. So I think, we've got a very good side in the Bills here. The Jags didn't really have to do much against the Falcons, did they? You went, and it wasn't much for them in order to be able to win that game. I don't think you could really say they were tested in any way. Bijan was good, obviously, but that was about as far as it went. And so yeah, I personally like the Bills for this one. I think they're just an all-round strong team, and they're going to be too much for the Jags.
Yeah, I think they've after that shaky first game, there was a lot of motion in against the Jets. I think they've clicked back into what's strongly becoming one of the favourites for the Super Bowl again. I think now back in, because there was a lot of worry that they were just going to be a bit disappointing, but I think they've really come back and proved how strong they are. And as you said, I was at the game last week, and the Jags did nothing at all. So yeah, they're not. This isn't quite the game we thought it was going to be, because we thought the Jags were probably going to be a lot stronger this year, didn't we, than what we've seen? But still, an exciting one.
It's been a bit surprising. I kind of felt like Trevor Lawrence would have been a bit better. I kind of feel, I think everyone went first year, you let him off because of all the trouble there was there with Urban Meyer and all that. Then, you saw him progress. and then you sort of think, okay, this is the third year now, and you kind of felt like he was going to progress even further, and he doesn't feel like he really has. So I think that's the big issue for them. That's one where you just feel like they need to sort of like get a bit more attacking. You can't blame them against the Falcons. You beat what's in front of you, and that's all you need to do. So that's fine. But yeah, it does feel a little bit not quite clicking 100% for the Jags at the moment. When I did look at the touchdown scorers, I must admit, because it feels like it's not really clicking, and because they're going up against such a top quality defense in the Bills, it is difficult to find anything that exciting to go for. The one that I did like the look of, and he hasn't scored yet, but the amount of receptions, I mean, he's had 8 targets the last 3 weeks in a row, is Evan Ingram at 5-2, and you just feel like it's a matter of time before he does score.
Yeah, he was my guy last week that I questioned you of whether he'd be good odds, and your worry was he hadn't got in the end zone yet, but he always looks for him. Watching them live and seeing how much they do throw the ball to him, he's the safety option. So I think that's where it's going to go if it does go somewhere. So, and the odds are really good on him. For someone who sees a lot of targets, like you're saying, the odds are really good on him. I'd expect them to be a little bit shorter than that. So, yeah, really like that one. Previous weeks when we've seen the Bills, you've really liked Latavius Murray. Are you still on that bandwagon with that short yardage on him, or have you're moving towards James Cook being the main back?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I do feel like James Cook had most of the opportunities last week, that Murray didn't really get involved too much. So there's a reason that he's the odds that he is. So it is kind of a little bit like you do want to veer away from it. The one guy on the Bills side that I feel like you can't veer away from anymore, who's gone and got himself 3 touchdowns already this season, is Gabe Davis, and it's not one that I normally go for at all. I'm not really a big fan. I find that, you know, Diggs kind of takes most of the targets for that, but Davis is 2-1 and he's had 3 touchdowns already, and he is quite a streaky player. He always has been. It's like he goes on these week runs where it's like, you know, a couple of touchdowns over 2 weeks, and then nothing for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then he goes again. So he is definitely one that's worth having a look at this week at 2-1. I think that's a good price for him. So I quite like the look of him. But once you get past that, on both sides, to be honest, there's not really that much that I'm that excited for, based on the prices. You know, I mean, Calvin Ridley, obviously, but he is 6-4 and he's going, it's quite short considering you're up against the Bills. Diggs is odds on, ETN, Josh Allen himself, but again, they're not, big prices that are really juicy to get into, kind of thing. So I think Davis is probably the one that I like the most on the Bills side.
Yeah, doing the fantasy videos this week for the tight ends, I did sort of like the look of Dalton Kincaid this week. Just think he's got a good matchup there. Like the Jags are 31st against the tight end, so he's the guy that seems to be involved in the passing game over Knox, and I think he saw more snaps on the field as well. So I quite like Knox in this one for an any time at 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, both of the tight ends are definitely worth having a look at. It's more for me just the fact that I think they're kind of almost stopping each other in a way, because they're sort of sharing it, and that's where the problem comes in. So you don't really know which one it's going to be. I mean, you could go for both of them. That's something that you could do and sort of hedge your bets on both of them. But I think it'd be difficult to pick the right one. And I think Kincaid came out with a massive hype, and everyone was very much like, "Oh, he's going to take the NFL by storm" and all that. And it hasn't really happened because of Knox being there as well. So it's like it's a difficult one. But I personally wouldn't be going there because I just don't know which one it's going to be.
We move on to the next game, and I do wish they'd stop putting them on TV. It's the New York Giants at the Miami Dolphins. This is for the UK. This is the fourth time in 5 weeks the Giants have been on the TV in which we've scored like 3 points, no points, 12 points. The only game that we haven't been on TV for, it was the Arizona game. So I can't see this one going much better for us. I think that Miami will be looking to push for that 70 points again in this game with how our defense has been playing. Adam, what are your thoughts on the Giants going up against the Dolphins?
Yeah, I was looking at this game, and so the over under is at 47.5, but the Dolphins are 12-point favorites for it, which is is big. And I just think this is going to be. This feels like it could be similar to what it was against Denver. I don't think it will be that high. I feel like the where the Denver defense has just kind of died everywhere at the moment. The Giants are doing pretty well against the pass. They seem to be doing okay against that. That's something they're not too bad at. But they are tied 29th against rushing touchdowns. And so I think that is an obvious place where Miami are going to be able to exploit with the likes of Raheem Mostert and Devon Achan. I think that's going to be just two guys that at the moment you can't stop. Mostert's had 7 touchdowns this season. Achan's had 6. Obviously a lot of it came in the game against Denver, but even still, they're not bad totals. So yeah, I think it's going to be tough. The only thing I would say is I do think the Giants have a chance of putting points on the board in this game. I don't think it's going to be a complete shutout because the Dolphins' defense is not great. You can score on this defense. You saw what Buffalo did. But also, if you want to go and say like Denver, they did put 20 points up against them, so it's not completely nothing. So you can score against this Dolphins defense, but I just think their offense is going to be too strong.
Who'd you like for the odds then, Adam? Is it all Miami you're looking at, or is there any other game that you like?
It's really difficult because the odds have they've taken into account the fact that this could be an absolute blowout sort of thing. So, Tyreek Hill's 4-6. I mean, it's crazy short. I do like Mostert because you struggle against the run. I know Achan is a slightly bigger price at 10-11. Mostert's 4-5. But I prefer Mostert of the two because I think that he's the more sort of running back type one, whereas for Achan it's going to be in the passing game a lot more. So I do like Achan for this at 10-11. That was kind of where I stopped on the Dolphins side because, as you know, Hill is a very short price. Do I think he'll score? Probably, but he's very, very short. Jalen Waddle hasn't done that much this season, and at 11-10, that's very short for him. So it does kind of put you off a little bit, and then you're moving into like Berrios and other players like that, and it just doesn't really, you don't feel they're going to get loads of targets. On the Giants side, I mean, you'll probably know more than me about whether Barkley's actually going to play or not. It seems very up in the air still. I mean, I know he's been practicing, but he's been limited, so I don't know if he actually is or not. But even if he is 6-5, it's a short price for a guy who's missed the last couple of weeks. And if he's fully fit, great. You'd go for it. But if he's not, then it's a bit of a concern. But I do like Daniel Jones rushing touchdown in this one at 11-5. That's the one that I like. And then the one that I don't like because they're just not passing it to him is Waller. He's just not getting the targets. But I don't know why. The whole Giants offense is a bit bizarre at the moment.
Yeah, I think if there was ever a game that he is going to perform, I think this could be the one.
This should be it. Yeah.
Because you would have thought the Giants are going to be behind, so they're going to have to throw the ball more, and the Dolphins aren't great against the tight end. So you'd say that this was a chance for him to really go after those odds and maybe capitalize on them. Not sure what's going on with Saquon. With the way they were talking about him last week, I thought there was a chance he'd start last week, and the fact that it isn't an automatic. Yeah, well, we were close last week and it didn't quite work out. So he's a definite for this week because he's had all those extra days. It's still a day-to-day thing. So I'm not sure if we're saying he's fit. So teams have to then go, oh, well, we need to cater for if Saquon's on the field. So I don't really know, but yeah, I probably wouldn't. But I'd put money on Waller. I probably wouldn't put it anywhere else on the Giants. I wouldn't know where to put it. In terms of this game, Adam, we're saying that we think that Miami might be high velocity and put lots of points on the board, and we've seen multiple touchdowns in games from these guys. Would you look at the multi-touchdown scorers for this and seeing if you got better odds on Mostart and Achan for multi-touchdown, or they're at 7-2 for Mostart and 17-4 for Achan, 11-4 for Tyreek Hill? Would you go down that lines with this game, or is that not something you'd recommend?
I personally wouldn't, because of how small the price is. That's the problem with that. I think if you want to start going down into multi-touchdown ones, and I have done it a couple of times where you can go down that route. I think you want to be going for guys who are kind of that you want the big juicy like massive price for that sort of thing. It was Jack, wasn't it? Jack Humphrey, who he did. Is it Tony Jones Jr., the Saints running back? And he got the 2 touchdowns on that, and that was when they knew that it was something like Jamal Williams got injured or something in the warm up, and they hadn't changed the prices, and he was on it at like 66-1 or something like that. That's when you want to do it, sort of thing. They're the things. I don't like the idea of 2 touchdowns on short prices, because I think it's. Don't get me wrong. I think there is a good chance it could happen, especially in this game. But yeah, I mean, how often do you get games when teams put up 70 points?
True. I just thought if there was ever a team that's going to do it, it might be them, because we never spoke about.
Yeah, I think it could be them. But I think the problem is that it's already gone. The price is gone. You needed to do it against Denver, and this is the problem.
We move on to the next game, Adam. It's a lot more of an exciting one. It's one I'm really interested in. It's the Philadelphia Eagles at the LA Rams. I think this is going to be a good battle. Both teams look like they're evenly matched, I'd say, for this one.
Yeah, so the Eagles are 4-point favourites at the moment, with the over/under at 50, which I think is probably about right at the moment, based on the way that they've both been playing. The Rams have been a lot better than what I think we all thought they were going to be. Cooper Kupp is meant to be back for this game, so he's on a limited snap count in practice, but they're saying that he's going to be back for this. So I think that will be interesting to see how that works with Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. They've both been really, really good. Are they still going to get the targets or not? Is Kupp just going to come in and take over? It's quite possible that is what happens. So I think this will be a really interesting game to see in that respect. The Eagles have struggled a bit defensively. They've got a few injuries, haven't they, in the secondary? So
yeah.
that will be interesting to see what happens with that. But I feel like the Eagles are just doing everything kind of in second gear a little bit, because they don't have to do anything else. And people have kind of come out and said, oh, they're not as good as they were and stuff like that. I kind of feel like they're just keeping the opposition at a safe distance all the time. I think I like the over. I think both defenses have struggled in certain areas. You can run on this Rams team, that's for certain. and you can pass on the Eagles. So I think that there are some definite ones to look for. If Cooper Cup's out there at 13-10, he's probably not a bad price, but it is a bit like, how much is he going to play? So that's a difficult one. Tutu Atwell, I think, is the one for this one at 21-10. He's less likely to lose the targets, I think. So I quite like Atwell on the Rams side. And then, as I said, with the Rams, you can run on them. So Swift at 21-20, I think, is the way forward.
Yeah, it's not big odds all the way down, is it? Down to sort of
There's
Higby?
not a lot. That there isn't really a lot in this game that's particularly like mega exciting. I just, like I said, for me personally, I think Atwell is the one of the whole lot, just because he is that bigger price, but also he's the speedster. So I think he's probably more likely to not lose targets with Cup coming in. So that's the guy that I like the most. And a lot of people go on about Tyler Higbee, but I just don't, not as a touchdown scorer, I don't think.
Yeah, just moving the chains, short yardage, stuff like that. I think you're right with Atwell. I think where he's going to fit in is not going to affect. It's going to be Puka and Cup that are vying for the same position, really, isn't it? No, it's Van Jefferson that's obviously going to step down for the snaps, but equally, where's the ball going to go? This might be the week to keep on the Nakua then with Cup not knowing how much he's going to play, because following on weeks as he gets healthier, I think it is going to go towards him, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how it does go. Because Nakua has just had so many, not just targets but receptions, and he's done so well. It would be strange to just limit him so much. It just feels like you just keep going, because it would be strange to take that away. Having said that, when you've got someone like Cooper Kupp, who, if he is like fully fit, you kind of want to play him as well. And I'm not saying that Higbee takes targets from these guys, but he's another one. They're all kind of over the middle, and that's where it's. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, it might be. This could be the one to keep Nakua in. Like, if you want to do fantasy, it might be worth keeping him in this week. But I do wonder if, like you say, as time goes on, whether it will go back to Cup.
Who do you think is going to win this one?
It's really difficult, and I didn't answer it on purpose, and you still went down that route, didn't you? I think it's. I believe that the Eagles are just keeping everyone at bay, and I think they'll do the same again here. I think they're a lot better than what people are giving them credit for at the moment. So I'm going to go Eagles.
Struggled against the Vikings, who had similar sort of high velocity offense to what the Rams have got. So, and I think the Rams are a lot better on defense than the Vikings currently. So I'm going with the Rams to pick them in this one. Next game up is the Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. Another good game, I think. I think this one's a good one to watch.
Big. This is, we had Sky, obviously, who went out there, watched Dallas destroy his New England Patriots. And he was saying that, this isn't a shock that Dallas fans think they're going to win everything. But he was saying that they view this game as the NFC Championship game, that this is the sort of the bar. So I think they're going to find it quite interesting, this one. The 49ers are 3.5 point favorites to win, and the over-unders at 45. I think personally, I think the 49ers are quite a bit better than the Cowboys myself. So I think they will do pretty well in this game. I think they will win it. When it comes to the Cowboys this season, I felt like they've blown out a couple of teams who aren't very good, and they've struggled against some teams who are pretty solid, kind of, like playoff teams. And I think the 49ers are showing that they are more than a playoff team at the moment. So I think they're going to struggle with that, and a lot's going to be put on the Cowboys' defense in order to try and stop them. But there's so many weapons. I think it's going to be really difficult. I really like Brandon Ayuk at 7-4. I think he's a really decent price in this game. Obviously, like when you look at your options, there's so many, and this is the problem with the 49ers. It is a little bit difficult to know where they're going to go. But I do like Ayuk. I think that Purdy's got a good relationship with him. So 7-4 for him, I like. And McCaffrey is one that obviously we all like, but at 4-7 is just incredibly short. I mean, that's not, you don't really need my advice to back Christian McCaffrey. I think that's an obvious one. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't go much further. And on the Cowboys side, it's really difficult to kind of get excited about any of them. I will keep banging this drum until he does get in the end zone. I will keep saying Jake Ferguson because he gets so many targets all the time, and he's 11-4. He will get in eventually. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the only one on the Cowboys that I really like the look of.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Cowboys aren't going to win. I think when you look at it, the 49ers have got better weapons, lots of them. Best running back in the league currently. Ayuk cemented himself as a wide receiver 1 now. I was a year early on him, thinking that he was going to become a wide receiver 1, and he has done that. Deebo Samuel's a great Swiss Army knife. George Kittle's a great tight end, and they've got the better coach. So when it comes to the Cowboys, it's what they got. CD Lamb for me really is a weapon, and that's about it. So I think I'm in agreement with you. They're just too strong, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, it is very, that is it, really, isn't it? I mean, that is the issue with them. I just think this 49ers defense as well. It's so strong. They're in the top 10 on both rushing and passing touchdowns that they give up. So then they're not giving anything up easily. I think it's just going to be very, very difficult for the Cowboys to be able to do anything to really affect them that much. That doesn't mean that they're not going to get points on them. Of course they will, but I mean, I quite like the over at 45. I think that's a decent bet as well. So I think that's not too bad, but I just don't see them getting past them. So certainly not away.
Yeah, we move on to our last game of the week, and that is your Green Bay Packers at the Raiders. Are you going to stay up and watch this one, because you've got a great chance of winning this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is so. The Raiders are actually 1-point favourites, which is, I mean, just horrific, unbelievable, isn't it? Who's come up with that line? But the Raiders are 1-point favourites. The over under at 44.5. I don't think it's going to be a particularly high scoring game. But I do think the 44.5 is probably about right. Packers, as always, can't stop the run. They've never been able to stop the run, and they're probably not going to do it again. So that's a problem for them. But they're pretty good against the pass, and the Raiders have kind of got a bit of a not a great defense. So especially against the pass, they really struggle. So that is really going to open it up for Jordan Love and the Packers receiving core in this particular game. I like the Packers to win it. I mean, that would be, a bit mental if I said the other one. So yeah, I like the Packers to win it, and I think the problem with the Raiders is it's the same old story on the offense. It's Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, and then where else do you go? And I think that's the real issue with them. When I was looking at the touchdown scorers, as I said, it is Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams for the Raiders. 8-11 for Jacobs doesn't really. I mean, I think he probably will get in, but it is short. Adams obviously is going to score. You just know it's going to happen. So even money for him isn't really that bad for Devontae Adams. So I think that's okay. And then when you go to the sort of the Packers side of it, I think the obvious one is Christian Watson at 7-4. I just think it's a decent price for a receiver who, you know, as long as you can keep him fit, has clearly got the talent to be a number one. And he showed that last week. You know, he's missed all his time with Jordan Love. All the others have turned up, and although we struggled, he came out and, you know, he got his touchdown and looked good. So I do think that he'll do pretty well. The only other one that I like at a price in this particular one is Luke Musgrave at 13-5. I think that the Raiders have always struggled against the tight end, and I just feel like Musgrave is getting more and more involved, and Jordan Love is using him more. So I like the look of him as well. So yeah, I think they're the two. I think the line is I'm not quite sure why it's -1 to the Raiders, to be honest. I think they're probably overreacting to the Lions' defeat a little bit, but yeah, I think the Packers will probably sneak it.
Yeah, I'm really shocked at them being favourites. I think Green Bay have looked good in all of their games. I don't think they've for me, I think they've overachieved in what I expected from them on offense, especially. And I think the Raiders have just been themselves. Who's starting at quarterback for the Raiders this week?
I don't know. I mean, I thought that Jimmy G was meant to be back this week, but there doesn't seem to be a definitive answer at the moment. So, I mean, I would expect that line is expecting Jimmy G to be back.
Because if he's not, I think O'Connell's going to really struggle against the Packers defense.
Yeah.
The pressure that you're going to get on him, I'd expect him to be throwing picks left, right, and centre. So I'm shocked at that. Also, Jordan Love has had a couple of rushing touchdowns. Is it two in 2 weeks? Is it now? Do you like the odds on him to get in the end zone again?
Yeah, so Love is definitely. I mean, he is
9-2.
Yeah, 9-2. So he's a decent price. Yeah, I think that he's definitely someone that they're not thinking is going to go out and score rushing touchdowns, which is surprising at the moment because he did rush one in last week, and I think it's definitely something they're going to have to look at, as in like getting him more sort of plays designed for his rushing. I think it's the way forward for them. He's clearly capable in the pocket, but I just feel like he has to start using his legs a little bit as well. And there seems to be a bit of a reluctance to do that, and I'm not quite sure why it is. But yeah, on some of the sort of, you know, when he scored his touchdowns, I think there was a 2-point conversion as well where there was he kind of it all fell apart and he sort of had to do it. So I think that you can see that he's capable with his legs, but they're just a little bit wary of doing it too much. But yeah, I think 9-2 is not a bad price for him at all.
Yeah, well, I like those odds on him. I've got confidence in him because he's not expected, like you said. It becomes almost a bit of a trick play, really. But the mobility is definitely there in him. We saw it at college, and we've now seen it over the last couple of weeks when he's in the red zone. Adam, we move on to the important thing. We move on to the trebles.
Do you want to go first? Sky did tell me his treble, but I've completely forgotten what it is. So we'll put that out, but I can't remember what it was. All I know is that Jamar Chase was in it. But for me, my treble that I've gone for, so I have gone for Sam Laporta,
okay,
Detroit Lions, going up against Carolina. It's looking a little bit like Amon-Ra St. Brown might be missing this game. It's a bit game time decision, not quite sure. But he may miss it, or if he doesn't miss it, then he might not be out there quite as much. I think Laporta at 2-1, I think, is a great price. to be going for. He's someone that Goff loves to target, and they're at home. So whenever Goff's at home, they're going to score more points. It's just how it works. So Laporta is definitely one I'm going to go for. Raheem Mostert for Miami against the Giants, as we've said. I just think the Giants struggle against the run, give up too many rushing touchdowns. Mostert is the main, standard running back. So I like Mostert. And then Nico Collins for the Houston Texans. I ummed and ahed in this one about whether to go for Bijan or whether to go for Nico Collins at the bigger price. And I went for Nico because I think we said this, didn't we? Last year, we said this. CJ Stroud was the best one of the lot coming out of college. And everyone went Bryce Young as like the pocket passer, and then everyone lost their mind over Anthony Richardson. As fair enough, he's very good for fantasy, but but CJ Stroud is showing that he's very capable, and that O-line in Texas for the Houston Texans is not amazing. It's okay, but it's not amazing. So he's doing pretty well with not a large amount of help. So he's doing well. So I think he's definitely one you want to look at. I mean, I did look at Tank Dell as well because I feel like you can go over the top of the Falcons. It's that they stop the run quite well, but they're not so good against going over the top. So I did look at him as well. And obviously, as already said, I did look at Anthony Richardson because you just do every week now. But he's starting to get shorter, and he's going up against the Titans defense, which is good against the run. So yeah, Laporta, Mostert, and Nico Collins, 14.52 to 1.
Oh, you ready for mine? Number 1 is Sam Laporta.
Here we go.
I don't really need to say anything. You've already filled us all in. So I'll move to my number 2, which is Nico Collins. Who is the first read. He's the third down look. CJ Stroud is as incredible as I thought he would be. And then my last one is Anthony Richardson. So I just, regardless of how good you are at stopping the run, I think he's so big and powerful. If he's near the line, he just needs to fall in. And the odds of mine actually come out at 18 to 1.
Yeah, so basically Richardson instead of Mostert, which it's one that I did put him down. So I did think about Richardson, as I said. Well, we're either going to be very happy or very sad. So, it's going to be one or the other.
I think with the issues that we had with the odds earlier, I think what we should do, because mine and yours are very, very similar, is something that we do as a group, where we always do an early treble and a late treble. So all of those games are for the early games. So I think we put out on social media, between us, we'll put out an early one and a late one, just so you've got a bit of variety, and you're not chucking your money on all of the same people on 2 bets. So I think we'll do that, and we'll come up with something good together, I think. So I look forward to building that little treble with you, Adam. But till then, look out for Skies as well. We'll see see if he's got Laporta and Collins on his as well. Thanks for joining, and good luck for this week for your team.